Welcome to this webinar, the Epista Life Science webinar on development of software as a medical device. A bit delayed, some technical problems, but I hope that you can see and hear us loud and clear. Many companies are currently considering development or have already started development of software as a medical device. And we hope that this webinar will be able to answer some of your questions on this subject. We have a very tight schedule, but during this presentation, you will be able to type us some questions. And if we have the time at the end of the presentation, we will try to answer some of your questions. Otherwise, we will reply you afterwards. My name is Hannah Hansen, and with me I have Andrea Bondi. Hello. Please introduce yourself.
Yeah, so thanks for having me, and thanks for this interesting topic. My name is Andrea Bondi, and I work as a project manager in digital health IT. And I have a technical background, so I'm a medical engineer by education, and I've been technical project manager. And now I'm managing digital health projects and enabler for software as medical devices. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
And my name is Hannah Hansen, and I am a principal consultant here at Epista Life Science. 20 years of experience with pharma and medical device. And I have recently finished a project with developing a QMS for software as a medical device to include and anchor all the regulatory requirements for this project type. So,
we can start.
Are we having a presentation?
We are having a presentation. Hopefully everything works as yes. So this is us.
This is us.
Good. And we're still using this webcam, so we can continue.
So Andrea, what is software as a medical device?
That's a good question. And quite a big one. So we try today to give a bit of a high-level overview on this very new topic, especially in pharma companies. So software as a medical device has a formal definition that it can be seen in the slide. So it's a software which is intended to be used for one or more medical purposes. And all the medical purposes can be found online already. There are many medical purposes. If the software has this intended use, or one of these intended uses, then it falls under the software as a medical device category. And this definition is the International Medical Device Regulations Forum. So this is quite standardized definition of it.
Clear definition.
And you can see a few of the pictures in the presentation. You can see some skin scanning, and you can see an Apple Watch, and you can see a Fitbit. So there is always an important question on defining the software as a medical device in the right way. Because many times people ask, is this what I'm going to develop a software as a medical device, or is it not? Because, depending on if it is or if it is not, the regulatory pathway and documentation changes dramatically, I would say.
Absolutely.
And especially when we take into account risk, which is a very important component of software as a medical device.
We'll get back to this.
We'll get back to it, absolutely. So in this picture already, you can see that some software, so if we say that the intended use of the picture on the bottom left is actually to establish if the skin is or might be cancer, then that falls most probably under the software as a medical device category. Absolutely. Especially if wants to give a therapeutic also suggestion of it. In the middle, we have an Apple Watch, which in the version 4 has been cleared by FDA for atrial fibrillation. So again, medical device there, software within it, and we'll talk about AI in a bit. And then we have a sport watch that, even though give us bioparameters back to us, like heart rate and maybe stress, they are not software as a medical devices. So the software running in these devices is not software as a medical device.
Okay.
And the medical device and the product itself is not a medical device. So we have similar product, but some they fall with a very specified intended use with a medical purpose. Some they not. So they're not software as a medical device.
So the intended use
Is king.
keyword.
Exactly.
Okay.
Intended use. Very clear intended use, first of all.
So this software as a medical device, what are the key components of this?
Yeah, so again, many key components of a software as a medical device. In my technical overview of a software as a medical device, you always have an algorithm because we want the software as a medical device to perform something in a very smart fashion. So there is an algorithm that needs to specify an outcome for this software as a medical device. So yeah, you have a algorithms which are very important and are the center of definition of a software as a medical device.
Yeah. And now you're talking about algorithms. I get to think about artificial intelligence and machine learning. What is your take on that?
Yeah, of course, algorithms now, we hear AI and machine learning more and more. And of course, AI and machine learning models are behind virtually 99% of the algorithms in software as a medical device. And I think what is important, we now know that AI is behind everything, as I just said. What is important, especially for the regulators, is that algorithms are developed correctly and very robust algorithms, but also that these algorithms can be explained. So regulators want us to explain why the algorithm told me that this is cancer or this is not cancer. So as you can see in the example here in the slide, is a very famous example of a cat. So given training pictures, a training set, then the algorithm, in this case, neural network, establishes that it's a cat or it's not a cat. And if so, why? So if we can explain it, we know why the algorithm told us that it actually was a cat and why not something else. When can we trust the algorithm? Because we have, a numerical, quantitative way of establishing how reliable is this algorithm. And so it's very important to establish why we got to where we got in the algorithm.
Yeah.
And FDA has a take on this. So it's a recent white paper. It's actually a proposal from FDA, and they established a good machine learning practice, which is super important if you have organizations that are looking into machine learning. And this is an excerpt from that paper, and it's a bit technical, but this is a very good scheme to understand what FDA is looking for when we talk machine learning. And basically, you will have a model. There will be a validation of this model. The model will be launched in real, so in the wild, so to say. There will be some monitoring of the model. Data will be fed back to us. We improve the model, and again in this fashion, which sounds a bit like Agile, and we will talk also about this later, right? So this is very important because regulators now are moving steps towards machine learning and understanding what are these machine learning algorithms doing and how we can control them.
You said the keyword Agile, and talking about software as a medical device, as a product type, we know that it will be submitted as a medical device. And for medical devices, design and development are very crucial and very important requirements for the development of this device. So what are the different methods of development of software as a medical device?
Yes. So now the word Agile, I think, is like machine learning. Every company is talking about Agile, and they're trying to somehow migrating or shifting towards Agile. And you can see in this picture, we have the two differences, main differences between Agile and Waterfall. In Waterfall, you design up front, and then you go build. And then if something is wrong, you need to design again.
Yeah.
In Agile, you want to do step-by-step increments. So you want to develop a bit, and show. Develop a bit and show, develop a bit and show, because you want to create value, show the value, and change if it's not correct.
As we go.
Exactly. Yeah. So from a PM perspective, I can say that shifting from the waterfall approach towards the Agile approach, it feels like doing a lot of the time the same things, but in a small amount and constantly repeating.
Okay.
So it's a new feeling.
It's a new feeling.
Exactly.
Okay.
And especially for software as a medical device, it's very important to keep the quality of what we're building. And there's no better way probably than to do small steps of high quality and iterate on them continuously.
Still fulfilling the regulatory requirements.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So you have been working with both methods.
Yes.
What is your take on that?
Yeah. So it's an interesting question. Of course, this picture shows that Agile is not the one fix for every project.
No.
We have some situation in which Agile works better, some situation where Waterfall works better. And you can see here, if we are in anarchy on the top right, there's no hope in a way. You need to get the house tidied up before, and then you can start designing what you want to design. If you are in simple projects, bottom left in the picture, then you can use traditional methods because there's no uncertainty or very little uncertainty. So you know what you're going to design, you know virtually the risks, you can forecast, and then you can develop. It's a very safe environment, very, 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 very low risk. Normally, when we talk about software, you never know what you're going to get.
No.
You know one feature, but you don't know what is the next feature. And you don't know how actually, technically, you can implement feature number one. So you cannot really forecast a lot. And that's why Agile comes very helpful here. It's because I know feature one, maybe, and feature two is an unknown. So I know how to do maybe one step. And then when I'm at the end of the step, I know which road to take next.
Yes.
Extremely beneficial.
Okay. And this about uncertainty of which way to go and so forth. I'm thinking when you're talking about Agile, it doesn't really comply with a highly regulated industry, or does it?
Yeah, so this is super interesting days, especially in the regulated industry. And what I feel is that Agile is more of a culture change.
Yes.
So if my colleagues, our colleagues, they've been forever in a regulated industry without use of Agile, introduction of this Agile or this Agile mindset disturbs a bit the status quo. So it is a bit complex to accept. And maybe I should, so it's really an understanding, a cultural understanding of what Agile does for the organization and how can make the job of everybody better. So it's smaller chunks, repetitively. So we can steer, and change the way in case we're doing something wrong, if it's going in the right direction. But this also comes with a cost because, people are normally used to design in advance. They want to control. I mean, especially PMs. You want to know what you're going to do the next 6 months, 1 month in the line. But with Agile, no, you cannot. Give me a timeline. I can maybe give you a timeline, but I don't know what, there's a lot of unknowns. And that's why we use Agile, because we, instead of Waterfall, we can deliver value way earlier in the process. So the business sees the value before. Of course, again, it's a adaptation process.
It's a state of mind.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. So one thing is being a legal manufacturer of software as a medical device products. Another is to have the right competences. You are talking about the organization. What are your thoughts about local versus outsourced development of software?
Yeah. So we have two main categories of development.
Yeah.
So if our organization is deciding to go internal, I'll start with the pros and cons, and then we go external. So having internal teams, basically, it allows us to be reactive. So if we want to change the development, we can change it. We can go to the guy sitting next to us and say, hey guys, we need to change feature. Boom, they will do it. Yeah. There's more vicinity to the quality team. So quality designing and writing documentation, they will sit next to or with developers. And there will be a very, again, vicinity that allows us to be more dynamic and change continuously. We retain the knowledge because if I have developers which are internal, they will keep the knowledge internally. I will keep the source code. I will keep the best practices. Yeah. And the lessons learned, how to avoid mistakes for the next software as a medical device that we're building. Normally cheaper. As a cons, you need to manage or know how to manage a diverse workforce. course.
Yeah.
It's because, we are not used to developers. Developers are very special kind of employees compared to normal employees. They need to be there. They're free. They're creative people, and they need to be managed accordingly. Which is not, you need to really manage talents in a very specific way. And we also want to attract them. The pharma industry is great, but also needs to be dynamic enough and exciting enough for a developer to actually want to join us.
Oh, yes.
It's not so easy. They're used to, develop Spotify, WhatsApp, these super cool apps. Why should they come to our company, our organization? And if we do it internally, we need to develop a QMS. So we need to have the QMS, the quality management system, that caters for internal development. That also means that there must be people in quality with knowledge of development. And it's somehow a big task. As you experience, right? Discussions are not lacking in this kind of projects. No. And then on the other side, the company, your organization can decide, no, I don't want internals. I move a step towards outsourced development, which is also acceptable. And the pros are that you can find really highly specialized individuals out there. Oh, yes. That maybe they don't want to join your organization, but they will do a great job as external. They will be a part of it. Exactly. And of course, you need to make sure that you can leverage the supplier QMS. So I'm expecting that if I go to a company out, they will have a QMS to leverage. So I don't need to build my own, but they will have a QMS that fulfills my quality level. Absolutely. So very important to check. Yeah. Which also brings to the cons. We need to make sure that the supplier has a strong quality management system in place. Yeah. And also the outsource method can be somehow less reactive, especially if the development team is offshore. If we have a local group of people and you are englobating them within your company, still externals, but within your company, you can still be reactive. If this team is somewhere else geographically talking, so maybe they are in US, maybe they are in another country in Europe, you need to take care of it. We have the cultural time zone. Cultural time zone, exactly. Many aspects. And then we have less or no retention of knowledge. It's very important to understand where, if I can get the lesson learned and internalize those within, because, I also want to learn. If I hire them, I want to learn what can go wrong and not repeat it next time. And compared to the internal setting, it's on average more expensive to have this kind of external employees developing codes. Interesting. Now we're talking outsourced activities. What about cloud? Yeah. So cloud has been, I think, since few years, a very important topic in pharma. It's because pharma will never get the data in the cloud. Exactly. Why should I put my data on Microsoft Cloud, Google Cloud? It's like they would do, people would do individually with their own private items, but they would not do it with the company items. And it's somehow very interesting that now we actually got a reverse to that, luckily. And now cloud is definitely the king. If you want to build, whether you want to build internally or externally, there will be a backend. Yeah. So the backend is on the cloud. And the cloud is nothing else than someone else's computer, as someone says. So you will have to rely on three major players in this, which is Amazon, Microsoft, and Google. Yeah. And questions are, is it cheaper or is it expensive to do that? It's actually super cheap to build on cloud. Why? Because you pay as you go. If you buy a server, you buy a server. So you need to spend the money up front. If you don't use it, you pay it anyway. And then you pay to maintenance, for patching it, all this kind of stuff. Cloud, you pay as you go. So the more you use, the more you pay. The less you use, the less you pay. And then some concerns are about safety. Is it secure? Can I use it and trust it? I would definitely trust them more than I trust my own storage on-premise. And the reason is that they can prove it. So Amazon, Microsoft, Google, they can show certificates. They can show that they comply to ISO, all kinds of different standards about security, NIST standards. There's no proof that these guys are doing a good job in handling information. And one thing which is very important is whenever people use cloud, they say, oh, is cloud GXP ready? Is cloud GXP compliant? But I don't think that that is the right question to ask. They, cloud provider, they will give us tools which can be used to build application or software as a medical device applications in a compliant way. So the tools are there, the certifications are there, but it's up to us to create something and verify and validate that fulfills, the intended use.
So it's the readiness of the companies themselves.
Exactly. So it's up to us whenever we build, make sure that, we build something and we build it as per requirements.
Yeah.
So cloud is there ready. Mm-hmm. We need to verify ourselves, our own applications.
But again, the slide before on pros and cons and outsourced, they still they are also valid for
absolutely
cloud,
absolutely
file management.
Yes.
Okay. So going back to the Agile method, I think it's quite interesting. A very vital process in software as a medical device development is risk management.
Yes.
How do we work Agile based on a risk-based approach?
Yeah, that is a super important question. Yeah. And safety risk, we want to make sure that whatever we build doesn't harm our patients.
Of course.
That is super important. So, and I'm not, a safety risk expert, but as a PM, you get involved a lot in this kind of stuff, which is again the center, in my opinion, of software as a medical device. And first of all, I would advise anybody to get technical people, very deep technical people. It's because safety risk manager, they are very detail oriented on, what can go wrong and really nail down all different failures and go down to the minimal problems that the software as a medical device can have. And most of them are technical. So, you need really to understand the technical details and nuances within their safety risk.
Yeah. So
rule number one is really to get a technical hero, as I call them, or two, just to double check, and really nail down these technical topics. I would say, is priority number one when you do this kind of risk. And then I would focus, as the picture shows, on the most important risk that you can have. So you focus first, and it's like the old GXP risk-based practice. If something is more risky, I will analyze that more thoroughly than something that is less. So in this case, for example, as you can see in the picture, we have a login screen, and on the right you can see that the watch is telling you, hey, you have been sitting down, and so you should be with heart rate which is baseline, but you are not. So something is going wrong. You can see that between a login screen, a login function, and the function on the right, there is two different levels of risk.
Absolutely.
So perhaps I should focus more on the right one, right? And then leave space or less detail on the left one. So again, like we always done, best practice, risk-based approach, it doesn't change here. We need really to be focusing on where can the patient be harmed.
So we can still rely on our risk management process.
You could say that, yes.
And what about security on the product?
Yeah.
How do you ensure security using an Agile approach?
Yeah, it's very interesting because security goes hand in hand with safety also. Because we have a lot of technical details, and these technical details are also tied to security. As I said before, you can see on the left side of the presentation here, we have a technical hero once again. There are deep technical details that need to be understood by technical people. And normally security experts are also technical people themselves. Otherwise, there's always a technical a solution architect, for example, next to this security expert, and to guide which feature, which element is more risky than the others. And you can see here, you have, especially in this software as a medical device environment, we have a lot of Bluetooth devices. And, if you check, I was in Berlin in February, just before the war broke loose here. And there was this quality forum. And many companies, they talked about the problems in security of medical devices. And it turns out by research papers that many medical devices are actually deficient in security controls.
Uh-huh.
So it's very important to make sure that the information with the medical device is correctly understood and the protection, security measures, and RCMs are taken into account and applied to this medical device or software as a medical device. During development.
Yes.
And Agile allows you to iteratively understand what is the status. It's because if we had a long design process and a long development process, a change in the middle would maybe mean that I need to change design again. But if you have feature by feature development, like Agile tells us to do, then I always know that I'm analyzing this feature only. And then I will connect to the next feature by these progressive increments. So I think we've been working a lot with this in this way, and it's very beneficial. Yes. It's easier to get the overview, the high level overview of the security and safety features.
Okay, but the development, it may be agile, but we still need to be in control of development according to the regulatory requirements.
Yes.
And the testing, that's a huge task.
Yeah.
So are there any technologies or defined processes that we can use to reduce this workload?
Yeah, I would say that there's no one solution fits everybody. We have many different solutions, and every organization needs to, arrange them accordingly to the maturity level within the organization. And in general, I try to, gather this in this presentation, automate whenever possible. So if you can automate, it will be quicker, it will be cheaper. And whenever possible means it depends on the maturity of the organization. If your organization is very mature in that, maybe baby steps. Maybe do more manual work, less automatic work. Then test continuously. If we are developing, of course, best practice says already outside the pharma and in pharma and in software as a medical device that we need to continuously integrate and develop and test. So whenever I release the code, the quality framework of CI/CD, continuous integration and continuous development, tells me create a code, integrate, run some pipelines to test automatically the code, release the code. And again, and again, and again, and again. And this process in pharma, in quality especially, was a bit misunderstood at the beginning because, it's a typically a developer task. So quality was not so involved before, but now they are. And as soon as they understand that this continuous integration, continuous development, this rapid cycle is actually more in control than the old way of doing things, then it becomes easier because whenever you have QA on board, then you have QA on board, and it's very nice, and it's very you can see that they understand that there's more quality out of this process.
The quality is built into the product.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Step by step. I think I used like this step by step 50 times during the, and I will use it more. It's because step by step. It's not a huge step. It's small steps. And then I put there, if you're doing software as medical devices and they are apps, use maybe phone farms instead of buying 300 phones, all the iPhones, especially when you do Android, you have a wide array of different devices with different versions of Android, and if you need to whitelist, blacklist, it becomes a bit cumbersome, and expensive because phone changes and iOS and Android change. So phone farms, you will have all the phones you need online from a simulator on the web.
Okay. So working with software as a medical device, it's very new to most companies, and we are still in a learning phase, as you say, step by step. Do you have any recommendations to the industry on how to proceed with this learning?
Yeah. So, again, we're learning every day, I would say, really literally every day. And, I always like to see organizations. This I always said in my interviews. I like to see organizations as individuals. So I will give some feedbacks here on individual level, but they apply to actually organizations. So the first one is to be honest to yourself and to the organization. So where am I now in my organization? Am I really mature? Do I have developers already? Am I used already to the CI/CD, continuous integration, continuous development? Or I don't know anything about development. So an honest look of where we are now, because it will give us a very good insight or on where we are going or where we can go.
So status and plan.
Exactly. Very honest, because organization, they normally tend to promise. I promise I get down there and we'll have everything automated and everything will be built, even though now I don't know anything about this. So maybe, again, step by step.
Step by step.
And be open because especially if, my organization now is not mature, I need to be open to other feedbacks that we get. Especially if you talk to developers, they will have 1 million ideas. You're talking to them, while you talk, they have 3,000 solutions. They jump in solution mode. And we need to be open to this kind of personalities and this kind of ideas, which are nothing that we are used to. They have totally different ideas.
We're not used to being creative.
Not so much, probably. Not so much. And that's bad, but now you see that we are opening a lot. Organizations are blooming with developers, with innovation houses, innovation labs, and accelerator is fantastic. And accelerators are confined spaces where this creativity can bloom and blossom. But I can see it more and more in organizations to have these incubators within the organization itself in different areas. So openness is coming up very, very well, and it's great to see it. And ideas come up. It's not by chance. It's not by chance. And also, you will have young personnel. They will tell you what to do. What is the best technological way? So you need to be open to accept what these kids are telling you to do, which is my vision. Exactly. And be authentic is, be authentic to yourself, to your organization. Remember who are your patients. Remember what are you doing for them. So exactly, intended use must match my patient. So be the patient. Build, like design thinking tells us, build for the user. User-centric design, patient-centric design. We need to build for them. So be authentic to them. It's very important. And sometimes we tend to forget.
Of course. We have the project in mind and not the patient.
Exactly. But at the end, there's a patient, there's someone out there. When you see these people giving you a feedback that they love digital therapeutics or digital tools, it gives goosebumps, So what I'm saying to organization now who is online is create goosebumps to these people. Go there, make them use your stuff because there's a huge power. And we should make the life of patients better. We can do it. Let's do it. And the last point is challenge what you're doing. Challenge. Even if you think you're the smartest in the room, chances are you're not. Because tools changes, the cloud came, and Corona came. And it's very bad that Corona, affected the world. One good thing, if I can say, is the digitalization blossomed due to Corona. Because now all of a sudden we find out, but maybe I don't need to be somewhere. I can do with something else. I can use other tools.
We see the purpose.
We see the purpose. And it's the same. Now I can have a Teams meeting. Patients will see the purpose of, having these digital tools in their hands, which is great. And we see the same with telemedicine, for example. It's a great example. And I really strongly encourage people to go out there and talk to colleagues from other companies. I'm not saying now open the source code of your apps.
Knowledge sharing.
Knowledge must be shared because we are all new to this. The more we share, the more we grow. And again, the more the patients live better lives. So I think that is, at the end, we should do it for the patients. Otherwise, why we're here doing stuff? It becomes boring. I could have, done something else. But it's for the patients.
A beautiful thought. So I'm just seeing if we have had any good questions. I think that we have one question talking about organization. From your point of view, what is the biggest challenge for an organization wanting to enter the software as a medical device market?
Yeah. So we get, all of the above, I should say, in the presentation. I think that, software as a medical device is both a regulatory challenge. So we have to have regulatory people understanding the regulatory framework we navigate in, which is not, carved in stone totally. So, we need to really understand this correctly and apply this to our organization. And again, we said we need to go introspectively. Instead of living outside, we need to get inside and understand where is my organization today. And we need to be true. We need to tell us the truth because, otherwise we fail along the line.
Yeah.
So understanding where we are from a regulatory perspective and understanding what is needed. Because all of a sudden, if I want to build software as a medical device, I will need safety risk managers. I will need technical people. So I will need developers. So there is organizational change exercise here, which is massive. There is maybe a QMS exercise or quality exercise, which is, as you know, quite big.
Yes.
And all of this costs some money. So, we want to do it again for the patients. We need to understand exactly what can we do. And one step is better than no steps. So if I have an organization that I want to start building SaMD, tomorrow I will open a Word document. I will say, step number 1, where am I today? And then I will step by step list all the stuff that I need. And there are tons of companies in the same situation today. And we can get a lot of inspiration on that.
Yeah.
And when we talk about Agile, if we want to embark in this Agile journey, which I strongly advise to do, although it's to the discretion of the user, so everybody can decide, but it's strongly advised, once again, we need to have two ways of change. So the top management needs to understand. If I'm the top technology officer somewhere, I need to understand Agile and sell it well throughout the chain of command in my organization. But also, as a great book said, power goes in 2 chains of command. The second one is from bottom to top. So my employees, they need to understand why they do what they're doing, and they need to practice. There was Confucius was saying, I hear, I listen, and I forget. I see and I remember. I do and I understand. So they need to do stuff. They need to get, dirty hands into Agile and into this process. There would be, there will be a lot of bumps. And maybe now it's a bit of a cliche, but everybody maybe will fail. So failure will come. We just need to proceed because, as we now have computers, it wasn't easy to do. We'll have tomorrow software as a medical device that will save the life of patients.
And we learn from our failures. So
absolutely.
Don't be afraid
to fail. As Steve Jobs was saying, don't be afraid to fail.
Nope. Absolutely. Thank you very much, Andrea.
Absolutely.
It was a pleasure. And to you out there, thank you for listening to us. Again, I see some questions and we will get back to you. I have this slide with my information, my contact information. So if you have questions more than what we have already received, please send them to me. And I will see that I can get back to you as soon as possible with a reply. Thank you for now.
Thank you very much for having me. Thanks for listening.
Bye for now.
Bye.